Hello and welcome to our webinar on blended learning for digital marketers. Hi, I'm Dan Bevener. I'm your host and the blended learning specialist, and I'm here with Josh Pfister. He's the Director of Enterprise Sales at Simplilearn. Hello, Josh. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Dan. Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here. I would like to welcome everyone to the Blended Learning for Digital Marketing webinar. I'm really excited to be here today. I've had a number of conversations with business leaders and really understand how important learning and development and having sharp skills are for all of the organizations. So we have a presentation put together for you here today that is going to cover the following topics. So I'm just going to hop right over to our agenda here. We're going to start off with a brief overview of Simplilearn. So I'm going to give you just a slight little bit of company history. Then we'll move into challenges facing the industry agency. Then we'll move over to the effectiveness of a blended learning approach to professional education, and then we will wrap up with a Q&A session. So with that being said, a little bit about Simplilearn. So quick background on the company. We were founded in 2009, starting with a focus on project management, and then moved into IT service architecture. In 2015, Simplilearn acquired Market Motive, a Silicon Valley-based digital marketing education firm that founded the Online Marketing Certified Professionals industry certification body. Now, we continue to work with OMCP to this day because the board members and industry experts of that organization are defining the key capabilities of digital marketers. As such, this is how we align and validate our digital marketing curriculum. At the end of the day, we have the experience of training over 1 million learners at over 2,000 companies in more than 150 countries around the world, which has really validated the academic structure and impact of our programs on individuals and organizations. So with that being said, before we really get into the meat and potatoes, so to say, of the webinar today, I'd like to start with a survey. And I'm curious to know, what digital solutions have you found to have the greatest demand by your agency clients? We'll leave the poll open for about 10 or 15 seconds and give everyone an opportunity to respond. We'll close the poll and then we'll see what kind of results we get. All right. Looks like the poll is closed, and let's see what kind of results we have here. Thank you very much, Dan, for sharing that. I really appreciate it. So the reason we asked about demand is because of the major shifts we've seen that are impacting the agency industry. So that takes us to the challenges that are facing the agency industry today. Now, from an Adweek article published March 1st, they pointed out that 2018 is shaping up to be a year when some of the largest CPG brands are making some very bold moves. Both Procter & Gamble and Unilever, two of the biggest CPG brands in the world, are demanding more out of their digital advertising by putting pressure on platforms and making agencies, air quotes, clean up their act. Now, what we are seeing is that traditionally large marketing agency spenders are spending a lot of money to bring training on digital marketing topics in-house, and in many instances, cutting agency spend nearly in half. So that's challenge number one. And challenge number two that we've identified through our work with hundreds of agencies and private sector organizations is that there is a significant skills gap in knowing what digital marketing is and then actually applying digital marketing concepts to campaigns and strategies. As one business leader that I was speaking with put it, our sales staff understands what digital marketing is, but they are having a hard time putting together a mixed discipline solution that will meet the objectives of our clients. What we need is an education program that helps them to connect the dots. If you mix blue and yellow, you get green. If you mix social media with content and PPC, you get X result, as an example. So understanding how all of the digital marketing disciplines work together to form a total solution is severely lacking. So that's challenge number two. And what that all means is that there is a seismic shift happening right now that has proven some very significant skills gaps are currently rearing their ugly heads, if you will. One might think that these gaps can be filled by hiring, but as you will see in the upcoming slides, the demand for these skills far exceeds the supply of qualified candidates available in the marketplace. Now here's just a quick little graph that kind of illustrates this a little bit, the demand for digital marketing talent. As you see, digital marketing at 56% is far above any other marketing function or operation listed here, and this is through a survey last year from McKinsey. Now, you see creative services being at 35%, marketing operations at 27%, research and analysis at 25%, product marketing at 20%, and then traditional marketing at 19%. So I think it's quite obvious that digital marketing is really capturing the majority of attention today. Now, as the old adage goes, the proof is in the pudding. Well, in this case, the proof is in the publications. Here are some interesting statistics behind the demand for digital marketing. By Conductor.com, we see that the trend continues to point towards less siloing and a more holistic approach to marketing, increasingly dependent on diversified skills, and that speaks to one of the challenges that I mentioned just in the previous slides. According to Burning Glass Research in their August 2017 study, 40% of marketing jobs now call for digital marketing skills. The demand for digital marketing professionals will rise by 38% just this year, according to Mondo.com. And then based upon a U.S. digital marketing forecast survey from 2014 to 2019, it's expected that digital marketing will top $100 billion and account for 35% of all marketing spending by 2019. But, as you can see here, the talent to fill those demands is very scarce. The U.S. by itself needs 230,000 more people with marketing skills, and that's according to a May 2018 LinkedIn Workforce Report, so very recent information, and the fact that number is so large is really quite staggering. 85% of agencies claim that they found it either very or somewhat difficult to hire quality employees, and that's according to another industry publication, Adweek.com, and that was from earlier this year. Now here's some very interesting numbers, and we're seeing huge increases in these spaces. Demand for content marketing has risen 450% in the last 5 years. No wonder that they say content is king, right? Now, digital analytics demand also grew 152%, and marketers will increase analytics spending by 375% in the next 2 to 4 years. And that comes from the CMO survey by Deloitte. Now, finally, from Upwork.com in 2017, they found that marketers are difficult to hire. 35% of hiring managers felt hiring got harder in the past year, being 2017. So, again, speaking to the challenge that the agency industry is facing, there's these skill gaps, but the talent just is not in the workforce or out in the public to be hired to bring in. So that takes us to our next survey question, and that is, what digital disciplines do you find suffer from the greatest lack of fluency at your agency today? And I'll pause for just a moment and give everyone a chance to respond. We'll leave it open for about 10-15 seconds, and then we'll see what kind of results we have. All right. Thank you very much, Dan, and thank you everyone for your participation there. So we're going to go ahead and move forward here a little bit. And at this point, I'm actually going to pass it back over to Dan, who is our in-house expert on blended learning. And he's going to talk to you a little bit about what blended learning is and why it's so important. So that being said, Dan, I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic over to you.
Great. Thank you very much, Josh. So the first thing I want to talk about is, what is blended learning? Well, at its most basic, blended learning complements live instructor-led classroom training with online content, usually in the form of on-demand videos that learners review outside of class. Now, blended learning represents a fundamental shift in instruction that has the potential to optimize for the individual student in ways that traditional instruction never could. The Simplilearn's blended learning process combines the convenience of self-paced online training, the personal attention of instructor-led live virtual classroom instruction, and we add the hands-on practice made possible through projects and online labs. Blended delivery modes allow for each aspect to be taught using the most appropriate medium for the topic at that particular stage in the training. Now, every L&D professional, and probably every parent of a school-age child, has heard that different people learn differently. So in 1992, researchers developed a popular model for learning called the VARK. And the VARK modalities theory stands for visual, when people learn best through sight, oral or auditory, when people will learn by hearing or speaking, read, written, when people learn when things are displayed as words, and kinesthetic, when people learn by physical use or practice. Other researchers have broken these modalities into even more distinct learning styles, including there's logical, social, when people learn through interaction with other people, and solitary, when people learn best alone through self-study. With so many different learning styles to address, a blended learning system already makes sense. For people who learn visually or through reading and ideally alone, of course, online self-paced video delivery is the best mode. Social and oral learners gain most from live instructor-led classrooms. Meanwhile, the hands-on practice from engaging in applied learning projects satisfies those with a kinesthetic or logical learner style. There's another theory that goes on with learning, and this is the 70-20-10 model. Now, according to these findings, 70% of beneficial learning comes from hands-on experience and projects. 20% comes from learning from others through social experiences like coaching, mentoring, and collaborative assignments. And then finally, 10% of effective learning comes from traditional course-based instruction. The addition of computer-based multimedia has been said to help people learn more information in less time than traditional classroom lectures. This was discovered by research at the Georgia Institute of Technology, and they found that information, when it's presented through a redundant instructor and multimedia content process, appears to be the most effective way to enforce learning. Now, of course, all these percentages are awfully round and they're often debated. More recently, L&D experts say that the computer age has changed the ratios to be more like 50-30-20. Well, regardless of the numbers, blended learning provides multiple modes of instruction that simultaneously support all of these models. So, Josh, let's look at the different types of learners that we have in our organization. Another important factor to consider when it comes to delivering blended learning training programs to your agency is the preferred learning style of people in your different generations, of all the people that are working together in the same office. So as you see here, we have the silent generation. Those are born between the 1920s to the early 1940s, and they prefer instructor-directed lectures. Structure and predictability with no surprises is very important to these types of learners, and they also like independent skill practice time. Now, as more experienced members of the team, members of this generation can also be ideal mentors in select roles in organizations. Then we have baby boomers. Baby boomers expect a more personally focused learning structure. The classroom continues to be an effective setting, although members of this generation tend to learn best through in-class participation and inclusive decision-making, group interactions, discussions, and feedback, and that kind of brings them more directly into the process. And also, like the silent generation, they tend to like to try new skills independently. Then we start to see a bit of a shift when we get to Generation X. Generation X are often noted as the most fiercely independent of the four groups. They prioritize self-directed educational opportunities and programs that enable them to learn with their own schedule. They prefer fun activities, relevance, and understanding of what's in it for me. And they also like the discretion to complete tasks in their own way at their own pace. Finally, there are the millennials. Now, they combine the learning preferences of the two predecessor groups, favoring both highly personalized training on a self-directed schedule and also lots of activity-based group work. They also enjoy individualized feedback and mentoring and technology-enabled learning. Now, that's what's important because this includes their own devices during class. Millennials are now the largest individual group of learners in the workplace today. And a very important note here is their emphasis on technology-enabled learning, everything from mobile devices to their computers at home to their laptops and their phones. This is important because your course delivery must apply to every single one of them, from hands-on labs to exercises. And that's another advantage of blended learning and what we can do on the online delivery aspect of it. Okay, let's take a look at blended learning as a whole. Now, even if these learning theories fall into doubt as to which one is better, blended learning still makes good sense, especially from a digital marketing perspective. First, the time and costs involved in conducting surveys to determine the preferred medium, whether it's videos, books, classroom, or remote instruction, adds another burden to agencies trying to achieve outcomes under budget. Now, especially when it comes to technology skills, there are many elements that can only be taught effectively through one particular mode. For example, some digital marketing concepts like email, display advertising, and that sort of thing are best shared through words, graphs, and visual examples. Gaining practical skills in something like analytics or even PPC requires more hands-on practical experience. Those of us that use AdWords know that it's not something that necessarily be taught from reading materials. You really have to practice it out, and having an online lab situation where you're able to simulate these with a budget that you don't have to provide yourself can really give you the dynamic element to experiment and learn from your pay-per-click and other activities. Numerous studies show how learning is improved for most everyone by combining different activities alongside more passive study. By utilizing as many learning delivery modes as possible, that includes video, live, instructor, social, and practical, you can fill in any knowledge gaps left by modes that were less than optimal for the specific topic or that particular learner. Now, the best solution lies in blending those delivery modes so that each aspect is taught using the most appropriate medium for the topic at that particular stage in the training and benefiting the largest number of people possible. I mean, it's just like digital marketing itself, the right message to the right person at the right time. And this is the right learning through the right process to the right learner at their particular pace and time. What's important to remember, too, is that the research also shows that redundancy through multiple delivery modes improves learning and especially retention. So with that, I'm going to pass the mic back over to Josh, and he's going to share some information with you about Simplilearn's approach about blended learning.
All right. Hey, thanks a lot, Dan. That was a lot of really good information. Really the science of blended learning. So thank you very much for taking your time to present all that information.
Great. Thanks, Josh.
Certainly. So, all right. So we're going to take a look at what blended learning looks like at Simplilearn and how we deliver our programs. So in short, it includes self-directed online learning, instructor-led live virtual classrooms, and now those are available in three different ways. One, the first, is public schedule of instructor-led virtual classrooms, and we also do private deliveries. So it's just groups of people from your agency with an instructor, and those are usually tailored sessions. But those can be delivered also in a virtual classroom, and we can do them on site at your facilities as well, if that's the preferred delivery modality. Now, all of this is also supported with applied learning through labs, graded projects, and in-course assessments. So really the engagement component, right? And then, of course, we always have the 24/7 available teaching assistance and technical support for students as well. Now, some very important aspects that I want to put out here is the use of pre-assessments, the on-the-go learning capabilities through a mobile application, and the engagement model for hands-on learning. So starting with pre-assessments, there's two use cases for leveraging pre-assessments. Now, the first, which is the preferred model, is to use the pre-assessment as a tool to benchmark, right? So you give everyone within that you plan to train, your entire audience, you put all of them through the same pre-assessment. And then your outcomes there are your benchmark of current skills, knowledge, and capabilities. Then you put everyone through the exact same learning plan and then test again at the end to see how much the benchmark moved. Now, the second use case, it's to use the pre-assessment as a prescriptive tool. And while that approach will save the organization and the learners some time because they probably won't be going through as broad of a learning set, there are a couple of caveats to take into consideration here. The first is people do get lucky on tests, right? So hypothetically, you've got a student that doesn't necessarily know SEO, but they get lucky and they guess right on a couple of questions. And by guessing right, it puts them just above the level that they need to be to pass. Now, the unfortunate situation here is that you end up with a false positive, and a person that really needs training on SEO isn't going to get it because you're going to build a custom learning plan based upon their pre-assessment results. So that's caveat number one. Now, caveat number two, and I think that this is maybe a little bit more relevant than getting lucky on a test. Second caveat is that digital marketing is a very rapidly changing and evolving space. Something new is always coming up. And a person may sit down to take this pre-assessment, and they may be knowledgeable in, say, again, SEO. But their knowledge may be based upon experience that's 2 to 3 years old. Now, they're proficient enough to pass the test. However, they don't necessarily know SEO as it is today. Do they know the new Google algorithms, for example, right? So while that person may be proficient and have a bit of experience, determining whether or not they should be taking training may not necessarily be appropriate to base that decision off of a pre-assessment, right? Because you really want to level set knowledge across the organization and make sure everyone is up to speed with the latest and greatest. Now, the second component that I want to point out here is the mobile on-the-go learning. And as Dan pointed out, the millennial workforce is the largest individual group of people in the workplace today, right? So Simplilearn has created an application, and through the application on a mobile device, students can attend publicly scheduled live virtual classrooms via their mobile device. They can also download the content of their learning programs, their e-learning programs, onto their mobile. So if they're in a situation where they're offline, say on a flight, for example, they can still consume their e-learning in an offline mode. Now, when they go back online, the application syncs up with the LMS in the back end, and the next time that student logs into their learning program, whether it's from home or from the office on their PC, they can pick up right where they left off. This really fosters a learn anywhere at any time type of an environment for students that really are stretched thin for time, and it provides them with an opportunity to consume their programs when they've got the capability to do so. Now, the third component here that I really want to highlight is the engagement model. Right? Now, the way that we provide engagement to learners, particularly in digital marketing, is through assignments, air quotes, hands-on labs, because we do actually have a digital marketing lab environment, and project work. Now, the lab component is a platform called Mimic Pro. And what Mimic Pro does is it provides learners an opportunity to build and run a campaign, from building the landing page on through to buying AdWords and you name it, right? They get a $50,000 funny money budget to build this campaign. And the really neat thing about this platform is that it's feeding in live data from Google. So they're buying AdWords at today's prices. Now, once their project is complete, and they've built and run this campaign, they actually get to see how that campaign would perform in a real-world environment. Now, all of that is supported by our global teaching assistants, and we also have project mentoring sessions available. So as students are working on those projects, they're not left alone to do it. Part of our publicly scheduled delivery for our Digital Marketing Certified Associate course, as an example, also has project mentoring sessions scheduled into the structure of the delivery. And those are like open office hours where students can log in, they can ask questions about their projects, and they can get assistance, or ask questions and get guidance if they're having trouble understanding a particular topic. So that takes us to our next survey, and I'm curious to know from your perspective, what modes of learning have been the most effective at your agency? Is it self-directed e-learning? Is it open enrollment instructor-led training that's on a public schedule? Maybe it's private instructor-led training, or perhaps a blend of both. Of course, hands-on practical training would hopefully be a component of every delivery model, or you don't know. Interested to see your answers here, and we'll leave the poll open for a few seconds. So go ahead and make your selection, and we'll close it out here in just a moment and see what the results look like. I'd like to start off by giving you a better understanding of what the digital marketing education programs that are out there are available for you through Simplilearn now. Starting with foundational level learning, we have programs that are designed to take new to career team members or those who have little to no digital marketing fluency to a level of understanding that makes them very conversant and capable of sitting down at a computer and starting to build and run campaigns. We then move to advanced level learning, and that helps those who have at least 1 to 2 years of experience in digital marketing, and they're looking to become experts in their functional areas. Now, these courses dive deep into the technical workings of the discipline. Also included in this catalog are shorter courses that are very platform specific, so topics such as YouTube, Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, Google AdWords, and then, of course, we have master's programs as well that cover multiple topic areas across both foundational and advanced level curriculum. Now, you'll notice the OMCP tag in the upper right, and is a reminder that is a group of thought leaders and experts out of the Silicon Valley that have really identified what it means to be a digital marketing expert, right? And we've aligned our courses to their certifications. They have 2 levels of certification. There's OMCA, which is Online Marketing Certified Associate, and our Digital Marketing Certified Associate course, which is identified in the upper left hand of the foundational level track, aligns to the OMCA. Now, what that course does is it brings together all of the essential level disciplines into one course in the form of e-learning. We also have publicly scheduled live instructor-led training programs for that. And then, of course, it includes all the opportunities for hands-on learning and running the lab, so to say, with Mimic Pro. Now, OMCP's other certification is its namesake. The advanced certification is OMCP, and our set of advanced courses are aligned to the OMCP certification. Now, the reason that I share that information is because I think it's important for everyone here to understand that these courses aren't Simplilearn telling you what you need to know about digital marketing. It's the who's who of digital marketing that are out in the industry that have said this is what's really important for a digital marketer to know and understand how to do. And as such, we've aligned our courses to that. So our courses have been vetted and approved by OMCP as we are a registered education provider. Now, I did mention the master's programs, and also earlier mentioned that it's not enough for a marketer just to know SEO or just know social media, right? All of the digital marketing disciplines are really interwoven and connected. To truly be effective, functional team members have to understand how these different disciplines affect one another and ultimately how they combine to impact strategy. So with this in mind, we have created our master's programs with the help of industry experts to define the role-specific learning paths. As you see here, a social media marketer needs to know more than just social media. They also have to understand the importance of content marketing and web analytics and how that impacts social. The same goes for SEO and PPC specialists as well. Now, a common question that our clients ask is, how are these courses developed, delivered, and supported? And I believe that on this page is a great snapshot that answers all 3 points. So first, we work with a network of world-class influencers and industry experts like Brad Geddes and Stephen Hamill. And those are the individuals who help us to develop our courses. We then source instructors who are both teachers and practitioners who bring real-world examples and hands-on application in the classroom. Guys like Jeff Ferguson and Matt Bailey. These guys are out there on a day-to-day basis doing digital marketing as their full-time jobs. Well, they also happen to have taught a number of people how to do this as well. And so those are the types of experts that we bring in to help teach our classes, because they can really take the level of learning, or they can take the learning from theory-based to more of an application-based, right? And of course, all learning is then further supported by industry-segmented global teaching assistants who help us help students rather find answers to questions or provide direction on in-course projects. This provides us with an end-to-end system of expert development, delivery, and support. Now, when it comes to delivery of digital learning, there are also key capabilities that are necessary within the delivery platform that provide, so that we can provide students with an easy to navigate, learn anywhere, anytime ecosystem. Additionally, it's important to address the needs of the learning and development organization and the goals and metrics they track in order to achieve a return on the investment of their education dollars spent. Now, we help drive this by providing an enterprise-grade LMS that allows client managers to group learners together into teams, set custom learning paths, and then pull reporting and analytics to see things such as who's registered for what classes, what percentage of the course have they completed, how are they scoring on in-course assessments, projects, and the final exam. Now, having this information not only helps you understand the health of your program, but it also provides you with a mechanism to drive learner accountability for those who are not holding up their end of the bargain. Unfortunately, these organizations will invest quite a bit of money in learning and development and providing resources, and they make it available to their staff. And there are some folks that are really engaged, they jump right in and they really go for it. But then unfortunately, there are others that kind of lag behind. The ability to pull reports to see the level of engagement gives you another way to go to those learners that might be falling behind to see if there's something you can do to help them to get them re-engaged into learning and get them to complete their programs. All right, we're on to our next survey here. So I'm curious to know how you're currently measuring engagement in your learning programs today. I have come across some organizations that unfortunately are still tracking their learning programs by using Excel sheets, which is a very manual way of doing it. Manager debriefing or informal feedback one-on-one with their learners. Others do manual investigation through their e-learning management systems and pull reports from there. And others have a bit of a more sophisticated way of doing it through automated reporting through a learning management system. And then in some cases, we've found that folks are not measuring it at all. So interested to see your feedback here. Now, finally, I'd like to talk about customer success. So at the start of every relationship, all of our clients are assigned a dedicated customer success manager. Now, the customer success manager gets involved right from the beginning to work with you on defining the detailed solution, right? They help you identify the goals and success metrics that you're chasing within the engagement. They also work to help you with the logistical pieces behind the delivery, whether that's loading learners into the LMS or coordinating with the instructor for a private group delivery. Now, they also take the time to train managers and students on our LMS, its features, functions, reporting, and how to use it. And once the program is launched, there's ongoing reporting provided back against the benchmarks identified at the onset. So we don't put the onus back on the clients to pull the reporting. We do that on a monthly basis, and then, of course, can generate reports on demand as needed. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of our webinar today. It was my pleasure, and thank you all very much for being here. I sincerely appreciate it.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.